So welcome to HD Farm. I'm Henry Dorough, and I bought this farm 11 years ago. We got in the sheep business kind of just incidentally. My son was a 4-H'er, of course, as an extension agent. You know, your children's going to be in 4-H, and so he showed club lambs for a while. And after buying lambs for a few years, we decided we wanted to raise our own show lambs. So we bought some ewe lambs one year to show, and then next thing I know, we had a ram on the property. It's before I owned this property, and we raised his own show lambs. And of course, when you raise show lambs, you end up having more lambs than you can deal with. And so those that we didn't show ourselves, they either went in our freezer or we gave them to people. We sold a few and found out that there is a good demand for lamb around here. So we got more sheep. At some point in time, after my son graduated high school and wasn't showing anymore, we got rid of those breeds and we bought these Katahdin sheep, put them on the farm strictly as a meat breed. And so that's kind of how we got in the business of raising sheep for meat production. Visit as extension agents, I visit with a lot of people who want to raise sheep or goats in general. And you know, the things I always talk to them about right up front, if you want to be sustainable, you have to have a plan. First of all, you have to have a plan of what kind of production you're going to have, how you're going to take care of those animals on the farm, but most importantly, the marketing plan. How are you going to sell the product when you raise it? You can raise it all day long if you do things right, but you got to get rid of it as well. And you can't just keep them. Obviously, you got to sell them to make money. And in the process of raising those animals, you need to do it as economically sustainable as possible. Far too often, when I go across farms, everybody is opening a bag of feed every day. Even in years when you got plentiful grass or no grass on the farm, they're out opening a bag of feed or a barrel of feed and feeding those animals. And just can't do that sustainably over a period of time and make money. So our philosophy here is we want to raise the sheep with as little input as possible. They need to spend all their time on pastures. They need to be grazing. They need to be grazing high quality forage when it's available. And our philosophy is never open a bale of hay and never open a bag of feed. I can't say that we do that every year, but most years we're very successful with that. So our philosophy again is just minimal input, minimal expense. All the money that goes into the land and growing good forage, maintaining good healthy soils and high quality forages. We've been successful fairly well, even in a drought year like this. You look out here, and although that's not the base forage in this pasture, out here in this field we have more crabgrass and foxtail this year. This is actually a fescue pasture. But because of the drought this year, the fescue kind of suppressed here in the summer and these other weeds have come out. Crabgrass is an excellent forage. It's extremely high quality and animals absolutely love it. They prefer it over the fescue. And even the foxtail, even though it's not a very desirable forage, especially once it starts to seed out, a dry year like this, they're going to eat it and they'll do just fine. So our sheep, they spend their entire life out on pasture. Our ewes bred on pasture, they lamb on pasture, and the lambs are raised. They spend their whole life out here grazing. We rotate pastures as much as possible, although if you take a look around the farm, you'll see that we're still in the process of building this farm. I didn't go out and borrow a lot of money, buy fancy equipment, and put all these fancy fences up. We're slowly building permanent fences as we can, as the money becomes available. Otherwise, we got a lot of polywire strung all over the farm as temporary permanent fence until I get the real permanent fence put in place. So that's how we move the sheep around. Polywire works exceptionally well, especially once you have your permanent pastures established. You can use the polywire to graze smaller portions and rotate the animals around. So I absolutely love polywire. It's a great useful tool in the animal, as long as the animals respect it. There are sometimes animals, if you don't take care of the fence and it doesn't do its job, it's grounded out, the animals aren't going to respect it and they're going to get through it. So we spend, like I said, all our time on pastures. We spend all our money on pastures, and you know, we force the sheep to pay for all that. That's the only way we can make it. I don't need to be spending my salary from extension out here on this farm, although I am trying to build the infrastructure, the basic production cycle each year. The sheep are responsible for paying those bills, and that's fertilizer, seed if I'm planting rotational pastures of some sort, which we do, and any other thing. There's certainly the taxes and the mortgage on the farm. The sheep have to pay for that, and so far they've been able to do that. We have a variety of forages on the farm: Bermuda grass pastures, we have hay grass, we have fescue, and then of course in all those we have all these other grasses, annual grasses that come up voluntarily, and we utilize them as best we can. And then we have a larger pasture here in the back that used to be a cornfield that I've taken back, and I plant rotational forages on that. Summer annuals of some sort and winter annuals for high quality grazing, and that's where the lambs spend most of their time once we wean. They're on the highest quality forages, and the ewes are out here on everything else. All right, so with respect to health management, again, these animals have to pay their way. If they're costing me money, they're not going to spend much time on the farm. I have a very low tolerance for foot rot, very low tolerance for parasite issues, any other major health issue. If a ewe has a bad half of an udder, she's got to go. If she gets foot rot 3 times, and she's got to go. If she comes down with major parasite problems twice, have to treat her, she has to leave the farm. And so we're trying to select animals that have some sort of natural resistance. I'm going to use that term loosely, but resistance to these things is not an issue. Those animals that don't have those problems tend to live a lot longer here on the farm. And so as soon as they have any problems at all, if I have major issues with them health-wise, they have to leave the farm as soon as possible. And we get them healthy, of course, before we take them, but we'll take them to the local sale barn and move them off the farm that way. Our breeding season is kind of mixed around. We started out lambing in January and February like most club lamb breeders do. I say breeding lambing in January and February, so that we had the right age lambs for show. And we kind of stuck with that model for a long time. It's worked with us quite well. But a couple years ago, I split my ewe crop and my ewe flock in half and started toying with some fall lambing, and the idea of carrying some lambs that'll be ready for market around Easter. And that worked real well for me. There's a number of ethnic holidays around that time as well, and so I seem to have a demand. Not only the Easter crowd, but other ethnicities have celebrations that time of the year as well, and they're looking for lambs. Ultimately, we're toying with the idea of doing some of the farmers markets. We're not in farmers markets right now. We don't need that. We're doing well enough without it, but there are a lot of farmers markets that need the supply of lamb, and if we're lambing if our lambs are ready for market come spring, that's the perfect time for us to have them processed and ready and put out on the market fresh. So we're toying with that idea. So we ran a split season. Half our crop came in January, February. The other half of the crop came in September, October, and we've done quite well with that. But our winter forages are typically much higher quality than any forage you grow on the farm, maybe with the exception of alfalfa if we had that. So those winter forages, mostly annuals. Annuals, as a general rule of thumb, are much higher quality than perennials, and in cool season forages are in general much higher quality than warm season forages. And so by planting cool season forages on the farm, we usually have a lot of wheat planted already at this time. We got a lot of volunteer ryegrass in these fields. We capitalize on that. And those lambs that we grow in the winter months on those forages, the ewes are lactating, they're getting highest quality forage, they're producing a lot more milk. Those lambs, when they start grazing, they're getting much higher quality forage, and they grow out exceptionally fast, exceptionally well. We have much better quality lambs when they finish on those winter forages. So we're shifting everything here to a fall lambing program, getting totally away from the winter or spring lambing. For that reason, because of the higher quality forage we can finish those lambs on, but also our summers tend to be dry here. This summer in particular is exceptionally dry. We've been fortunate to survive without having to feed anything. But when we're trying to grow lambs out on these summer forages in a really dry year, it's hard to do that. So we see coyotes all the time, broad daylight out here on the farm. They've never messed with our animals. The polywire does a good job of keeping the coyotes out as long as we maintain it. Where we have problems with is dogs. When you live close to anybody else out in the country, especially, people have a philosophy they can just let their dogs run loose. And those dogs typically are going to be the problem. 2009, I lost every breeding animal on the farm in one night. A shepherd cross and a bulldog came in the pasture and slaughtered every animal I had that night. Right after that, we got this dog, Blanco, and she was just a 2-month-old pup when we got her. Brought her out here, and she's been with the sheep ever since. She's 4 years old now. A year and a half after that, the pound called me and said they had a Pyrenees at the shelter and needed a home because it didn't need to be gone somewhere else. So I went over there, saw her. That's our other dog, Xena, on the other pasture with the lambs, and they stay out here, and they are sheep as far as they know. We have special feeders I built for them for their food. They can go eat when they want. The sheep can't get into that, and but they live and stay with the sheep. The nice thing about them is they're nocturnal, so most trouble happens at night, and so they're out patrolling and barking at everything all night long. I want them out making noise, patrolling the fences. If they see anything move in that direction, you'll see them tear off running, even in broad daylight. During the day, the sheep are grazed. The dog just find a shady spot like right here. She'll lay down and fall asleep, but she's still listening. And if something moves or something makes a noise, she'll raise up. If the sheep have moved off to graze, she'll get up and move over to where they are and lay back down and go back to sleep. If she sees something move across the pasture, she'll get up and go investigate it. She'll tear out running, barking at it, and whatever it is usually goes the other way. And I like that. So our market slowly developed word of mouth in the beginning. Got a couple folks to buy some lamb, and again, our philosophy is minimal input here, but we focus on the product that's going on the table for our consumer. And as long as they're having a good experience, we want them to have a good experience with that lamb. And if they do that, they're going to keep coming back. So we focus on having the best lambs on the farm, going to those customers, and that customer base is growing every year. Legitimate custom sales. They call us. We've never heard of them. They heard of us by word of mouth or on our Facebook page, one way or the other. And we select the top quality lambs we have. Our customers, again, as long as they're getting a good product, they keep coming back. And so that's our primary focus. Recently, we got into some restaurant markets. A couple of restaurants we like to go to were talking to us about putting lamb on their menu. Again, we don't have the volume to supply a constant supply of lamb chops or leg of lamb or specific cuts to our restaurants. So we're just focused right now on ground lamb and doing features, feature meals on a rotational basis. And so as we have lambs available that don't meet our custom market, the highest quality for our custom market, we grind those lambs and then we sell that to the restaurants in bulk over time for special events that they do. So that's kind of how our market's evolving. Ultimately, our plan is to get into the market where we will be able to sell specific cuts to our restaurants on a regular basis, and maybe even at that time toy with some of the farmers markets. But again, right now we're strictly focused on our custom market, whether it's somebody driving up to the farm and saying I need a lamb, and we sell them a lamb right there off the farm, or our customers that call us or email us, find us on Facebook and send us a message and say we want a lamb, and we never see them, they never see us, they never come to the farm. We take the lamb to the butcher and they pick it up there.